Hey guys, it's Mythic Max, and today I'm just going to be going over a brief tutorial on how to play Mythic trading card game. So Mythic is a battle card game where each player starts out with 25,000 heartbeats, and the goal of the game is to reduce your opponent's heartbeats to 0 while keeping your own heartbeats. So the way you do this, there are 5 different types of cards in Mythic. The first type is a champion. These are your main battle cards. These can kill enemy champions. These can do damage to your opponent's heartbeats. These are arguably your most important cards in the game, your main engine of your deck. So in the upper left, you have your level. This is a level 7 champion. This is the cost in action points to deploy the card. So each turn, players get 4 action points. Each player gets 4 action points. You can save them up over multiple turns to a maximum of 10. And every champion has a level, which is the cost in action points to play. So this is a level 7. I would have to wait 2 turns before I could play this card. The axe is its stat for when it's in attack stance, which is it's played vertically. This is a 5,000 axe or 5,000 attack champion. The shield is its defense. This is a 7,000 shield champion. If you deploy them horizontally, this means they're in defense stance, which means you would not take damage if you got attacked to your heartbeats. Then where it says champion right here, that just tells you that it's a champion. All champions are colored black. Then to the right of that, where it says Olympian, that's the card archetype, which represents its pantheon. So this is Artemis. Artemis is an Olympian goddess. She's from the Olympian pantheon. This is also helpful if you have a card that, for example, searches an Olympian card. You could just look at its pantheon right here, and if it says Olympian, you could search it. Then to the right of the archetype is its elemental type. Artemis is an earth type, and again, every champion has some type of elemental type. Then beneath that, this is the card power, and in Mythic, every single card has a unique power. So these are your champions. You want probably at least half your deck to be champions, unless you're running some type of specialty deck, but these are your most important card in the game. Then we have your magic cards. Here we have Asgard, home of the Aesir. These cards you can deploy for free. There's no level, and each one has a unique power, which generally either helps you or disrupts your opponent in some way. So magic cards are either normal or enduring. The normal just means it's a one-off power, and then the card would go to the grave. Enduring means the card stays on the field. So those are magic cards. Then we have your defensive cards. These with the castle, these are brown. These are your fortifiers. Again, these are either normal or enduring, and they each have a unique power. Fortifiers you have to deploy face down first, and then on the following turn, or if there's some type of activation, something meets the requirement, on some future turn, then you could flip it face up. But fortifiers with the castle, these need to be played face down first. And just so you know, both the magic and fortifiers also do have archetypes, so they can be searchable. For example, these are both Norse. Then we have your generals. These are purple, has the laurel leaf symbol, which also means they're free to play because there's no level. These cards are very powerful. Every player can have one general at a time, and they often have powers that are continuous, like you can use them every turn. And generals stay on the field until they're killed, or you can replace them with a new general, although you can only deploy one per turn. So this is Thor. He's a very powerful Norse general. He has his power here. Again, it says where his archetype is Norse, and again, you can only have one general at a time. Also, just so you know, you can only run 2 of each general in your deck because they're so powerful. Then finally, we have your mythics. These are red, and these have a very similar layout to champions. They have your axe and shield, which are your attack and defense stats. They have your power, your archetype, your elemental type. The only difference is champions have a level, mythics don't. Mythics all have special deployment costs or requirements to, and the other thing is these don't reside in your main deck. Your mythics all reside in a special mythic slot. You can have up to 10 mythics in your mythic slot, or you can have none. It's up to you, but a maximum of 10 and a maximum of 2 per copy. So this is Jormungandr, the World Serpent. You can only have 2 Jormungandrs in your mythic slot. Plus, you can only have 1 on the field at a time. You could, like, one of the same. So you can only have 1 Jormungandr. Other than that, they function as champions, and they are considered champions while on the field. So these are your 5 card types in Mythic, and let's get to playing the game. So the first thing you're gonna do, grab your deck, and you want to remove your mythics from your deck because these reside in your mythic slot. Make sure we have no, oh, there's one. So then you would shuffle your deck, right? Have your opponent cut, and then your deck would go here. You and your opponent would each roll a die. We got a 6. Whoever wins the die roll chooses if they would like to go first or second. So we rolled a 6. Let's say your opponent rolls a 4. We win, so we can choose first or second. Let's say we go first. So now we'll set our heartbeats to 25,000. A lot of people you'll see playing just do this on a calculator. They just have a calculator here that says the numbers, and it's really easy to then add and subtract. I don't know where my calculator went, so we're just gonna do it on paper. It doesn't matter. And then when it's time to play, we're going first. Each player draws 6 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so when you draw every turn, you gain 4 action points. And we like to use our dice to keep track. So each turn you get 4 action points, and that means you can play up to 4 points based on the champion's level. So, for example, we have a 3 and a 1. What we could do is, this is a level 3, we could spend 3, play Balder, and we have 1 left. We could spend that last one, play the Buddha. So you can play multiple cards at a turn, or you could save them up. Let's say we want to save up for Cuddle Muffin Artemis, which is level 5. So we have our 4 action points. We could not do anything, or maybe, we could just spend 1. So let's say we spend 1. So we're down to 3, play the Buddha, opponent goes. Then our next turn, we draw, and we gain 4. So now we'd be at 7. Right. Now we could spend 5, so we'd be down to 2 to play Cuddle Muffin Artemis. Again, the magic cards, these can be played for free, so this destroys stuff on our opponent's field. We could play that, destroy something, that would go to the grave. Fortifiers have to be played face down, so we could set this here, and that would be our turn. So then once it comes to battling, let's say, here we go, let's say our opponent has Artemis, we have Zhang Fei. So when you deploy a champion, you deploy in attack stance, which means it can attack, that's vertically. or in defense stance, which means it can't attack. And that so in attack stance, when it's vertical, it uses the axe. In defense, it uses the shield. So let's say we have Zhang Fei, our opponent has Artemis. So they're both in attack stance. So we have to look at their stats. So if we're attacking, Zhang Fei he's a big boy. He's got 9,000 axe, and Artemis has 3,000. So when they're both in attack stance and we are attacking, the weaker card is destroyed. So that would go to their grave, and they would take, or whoever has the weaker card would take damage to their heartbeats equal to the difference. So again, Zhang Fei has 9,000, Artemis has 3,000. So if we attack, Artemis is destroyed, and they would take the difference, which is 6,000. So they would write that down. We don't take any damage. Again, if this was the other way around, let's say we had Artemis and they had Zhang Fei. If Zhang Fei attacked Artemis, Artemis would go to the grave. We would take the difference, which is 6,000, right? So then we'd go over here, minus 6,000. And now we're down to 19,000. And so that's basically all of the mechanics. So you go back and forth, right? Ideally you want to get a whole bunch of champions or some big, powerful champions and do huge damage, right, as quick as possible to get your opponent's heartbeats down to 0. Again, the mythics, these all have special costs to deploy. So you could, Odin is a really powerful mythic, so his deployment cost is a lot, right? You have to have less heartbeats than your opponent. You have to have Mimir on the field. You have to have 5 Norse cards in your hand or field. So then if all that, you check all those boxes, then you could bring out Odin and he could do 16,000 damage, for example. So that's the main game mechanics for Mythic Trading Card Game. Again, if you have any questions, please comment or contact me or join the Discord and chat with the community. There are definitely more complex ways to play with, there's multiplayer, and some of the actual archetypes have sophisticated ways to play, but these are the base game mechanics. Essentially, you spend action points to play champions, and you want to do damage to your opponent's heartbeats. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you check out Mythic Trading Card Game.